Hello, everyone, and welcome on back. It's been a few days, but we're back on Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, number one betting podcast and YouTube show with me, your host, Nigel Seeley, and a senior ATP Tour handicapper. It's Sean Calvert. Now, Sean, we haven't spoken since your trip to Madrid. Now,
yeah,
I got a telephone call after the trip from Madrid. So, a lot of people come back from Madrid with a bottle of brandy, a bottle of some spirits or some gifts for the family. Maybe even some San Miguel lagers. You come back with something very, very different from your trip to Madrid, didn't you?
Yeah, a bit of light hypothermia. I think it probably was.
What happened?
I'm not even joking. It was horrible. I still don't feel very well, to be honest. I picked up something else as well on the way. What happened? Well, what happened was when I went out for a night out with Rory. That's what happened. And then
you can't blame Mr. Giovanni. Mr. Giovanni's the nicest man in sports betting. You can't blame Rory Giovanni for your hypothermia.
No, I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying.
You just did. You said he started off. Okay.
Yes, I'm just telling you the chronology. I'm not saying that was the problem. We went out and then had a few drinks and all that sort of stuff. And then because I got up later I didn't get up till 9:30 the next morning because we didn't get in till quite late. Late-ish.
How late did you get in? How late did you get in?
12:30, I think.
Oh, come on! I'll be up 3 in the morning. Touch. Come on.
Yeah, you don't sleep though. That's I need my sleep. So I got up I didn't wake up till 9:30, and then because the queues are so insane at the tennis, I had to immediately leave if I wanted to get in before about lunchtime because it takes so long to get in. So I just had a snack bar and a coffee. Went up there. It was already raining, so the queue was about an hour. So I was already a little bit wet in the queue. Obviously, I didn't have any winter gear like all the Madrileñas had. They all knew what was going on.
Well, couldn't you buy something?
I'd have had to have bought like an umbrella, a big jacket. I'm not doing that to be in Madrid. It's ridiculous.
But it was saved you the hypothermia. Yeah,
but it didn't say that it was going to be like it was. The weather forecast said, it's just going to be about 11, 12, 13. It didn't say anything about like biting cold, freezing cold winds and like icy rain. It didn't mention that. But it was freezing.
It was under a roof. It was
I wasn't under a roof.
The match itself was under the roof, though, wasn't it? Surely.
Not the match I was watching. No.
Oh, okay.
The first one was.
I thought you watched it. Yeah, under the roof.
Yeah, that was. But I was already wet by then, and then I went out to watch Cashin. It was the Cashin match that caused the problem. That's out in Court 4, which is right in the middle of nowhere. It started raining, but the umpire didn't call it off because it's clay. And then it started hammering it down. He was still a bit 50-50 about whether to call it off. Because you can't watch any matches from behind the baseline in Madrid because it's designed so badly. The only place I could find to watch it at a decent angle is right in the corner. So I have to wait for everybody else to leave before I can get out. So it just took forever. It had been rained on for about 10 minutes. By the time everybody got out and got round and back into the main court, it was about 10 minutes later. I was soaked, I was freezing, I was in wet clothes for the rest of the day, and I got a bit of the old. I couldn't warm up for about 3 days. I was just sat there shivering. It was horrible.
So you're not going to go to the Reykjavik Masters next year on the new.
I don't mind if you expect that sort of weather. You don't go to Madrid and expect to come back with mild hypothermia.
But what the hostel, the arsehole.
Hostel. That was good.
You're right.
That was good. Apart from on the Sunday morning when it all kicked off at about 8 a.m. That everyone was banging the drums and there's all that going on.
Why?
Dos de Mayo or something. They have a festival every 5 minutes in Spain, and there was a half marathon on, and everyone was cheering, and there was a band playing at about 400 decibels at 8 o'clock in the morning.
You don't like bands. You don't like bands.
I don't mind bands, but I don't want them outside my window at 8 o'clock in the morning with people whistling. And why are you whistling? What's going on there?
No, it's not really been. It wasn't one of your best trips.
It was horrible. I mean, it was actually all right until that day. It was actually okay, but I've got a lot of complaints about the tournament. It's dreadful. It's absolutely dreadful.
What's wrong with it? Give us the complaints. There's only 2 matches we're going to talk about, by the way. So we've got a bit of time.
It's like watching, as I said, it's like watching tennis in a multi-story car park. It's awful. It takes ages to get in for a start, at least an hour.
Rafa Nadal's last tournament. You were moaning about the kids. Now, he's the hero to the kids. You can expect him to turn up, Rafa Nadal. You've got a young lad, Alcaraz. You're in Madrid. Yeah. What do you expect? They're going to turn up, aren't they?
They turn up, but they don't watch any tennis. All they do is stand there by the bit where the players come in, wait for about 4 hours, yelling and screaming and running around, take a load of selfies, get some signatures, and then disappear somewhere. The one thing that Madrid tennis people aren't is at the matches. I don't know where they are. They'd all just milling around in this multi-story car park. You can watch any match you like on the outside court because there's nobody there. It's all crammed into this horrible 2 stories of metal cage. It's dreadful. You never know what floor you're on because they both look exactly the same. So you end up getting very confused. It's weird. I've got a lot more complaints, but we haven't got time. I don't.
So you wouldn't be going back next year?
No water stations. I've mentioned that before.
You don't need water. It's freezing. Minus cold.
Yeah,
it's freezing cold.
Yeah, but it was 32 last year. There still wasn't water stations last year. And I can tell you this:
you can't have him ice cold water. You'd have been in a worse state if you come back.
Well, that was unlikely, wasn't it? 99% of the times this tournament's been on, it's been boiling. There's no water stations. It takes you 45 minutes to queue up for water. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable at all.
Have you sent an email across? Will you be complaining?
What's the point? What they're going to say? It's just designed badly. It's designed for style over substance. Someone's sat there and designed this and gone, oh, that's great. And he's got loads of awards probably, and they've gone, oh, doesn't it look great? It's terrible because all the courts are back to back to back to back to back. So you can't watch any matches from behind the baseline. I mean, who watches tennis from the sides? You know, every match you watch on TV, you watch it from the baseline, aren't you? You can't be doing with this head moving business every 2 seconds. And the other thing is that because they're all back to back, all the balls fly over onto the adjacent courts every 30 seconds. So they keep playing lets all the time, which is also annoying. So there you go. And
anything positive about it? Meeting Rory Giovanni must have been a good positive.
Yeah, that was actually the highlight by some considerable distance of the tournament. I've written down something here. The toilets were okay.
That was it. That's the only positive. The toilets were, and they weren't even good. They were okay.
The reason they were good was because it was the only place where it was warm when I was freezing. So I was just lurking about in the toilets, pretending to sort of dry my hands to try and get some warmth. It was ridiculous.
The best thing about it is you met Roy Giovanni, and I asked you to send a picture on Instagram. You took it on public transport, which I thought was one of the best things.
You didn't ask me though, did you? You asked me.
I thought you might be having a paella or something Spanishy, like a glass of San Miguel.
He lives there.
But you went for a curry and what tapas? Why don't you go for tapas?
Because he lives in Madrid. It would be like him coming to Leon C and choosing where to go to eat. That doesn't make any sense.
Jelly deals and fish and chips.
Well, that's not how it works. If you go to someone's city, then you say, "Oh, where's good or whatever," and they tell you. So right. I was expecting him to sort of say, this place is good, but it was all right, but. Yeah, curry. It's slightly strange choice, but there you go.
Curry strange, especially we've got hypothermia having a curry. It's going to be.
Well, I didn't have hypothermia at the time.
Oh yeah, it was the following day. Well, that curry might have been the problem, not the weather.
I wouldn't rule that out, to be honest with you.
That could have been more the problem than the weather in Madrid.
It did taste a bit moody when I was having it, to be honest.
Anyway, if you're interested in Sean's story. I was in Rory. If you're interested in Sean's story, you can head across to our Instagram page at Because We Win, and you can see a little story, a little video update there of Sean's adventures over in Madrid. You can see he's not really very happy towards the end of it, but he goes there with a smiling face. And lots more action on the Instagram account, in-play pics as well throughout the tournament. Now, we reached the business end in Madrid, and we couldn't record on Monday because obviously Sean wasn't feeling too great. So we're now back on Wednesday. We have 2 quarterfinal matches in the men's draw to speak about today. Later on today, we have the other 2 quarterfinals, and we'll know the semi-finals later on in the week. And the first semi-final we're going to concentrate on over in Madrid is the match between Daniil Medvedev, and we have him up against Lehecka. Now, Lehecka yesterday had a huge win over Rafa Nadal. He kept his nerve, won well in straight sets, and he's up against Medvedev, who come through a little bit of a test against Korda. Korda had many opportunities to get past Lehecka. Medvedev here is a favourite, -190. Clay has never been his surface, +150 Lehecka. -2.5 is the spread. Medvedev is -117, giving up the 2.5. Lehecka is +2.5, -108. And the total is 22.5 with over -106. 36 different markets available currently on the BetRivers website. Before we go on to that, Sean, as the conditions there, obviously we've seen very, very different types of weather conditions. You know, the freezing cold when you were there. Yesterday
Yes.
was quite warm. Today was overcast this morning. It's brightened up this afternoon a little bit. Very, very changing conditions. Has that really made an impact on the court speeds and the conditions for the players?
Not really, a little bit, but just as I alluded to numerous times on the podcast last week, it's not that much slower. The stats are in now, actually. So this year, 80% holds of serve and 70% first serve points won. The average is 81% and 71.6. So it's a little bit slower than the average, but it's still very far from slow. It's still it's still quick conditions. The weather again tomorrow it's going to be about 15 centigrade maximum. No freezing rain, I don't think. But it only starts to get warm on Friday when it gets to about 20, and then Saturday is going to be more like what you would normally expect in Madrid, 24 degrees, 25 degrees. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that's going to be the quickest conditions that probably we've seen this tournament so far. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at head-to-head. Medvedev does lead 1-0. It was in the 2023 Wimbledon Championships where Lehecka had to retire after Medvedev won the opening 2 sets. And then for that match, he started a very heavy favourite, -$4. Lehecka played well against Nadal. It was a big win, but there is this kind of thing that when someone has a big win, and we've mentioned it many times on the podcast, a big win, beating Nadal in Madrid is such a big win for Lehecka. Emotionally, he was probably up for that match. Nadal wasn't the player he was, but now he goes into Medvedev, and it's very hard for a player to bring that A game in back to back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for him to get back up. Really, this is a tough one to call. That's one of the reasons why. As you said, Lehecka's coming off that big night against Nadal, and he had to go through a lot, didn't he, to win that? I mean, whenever you play a great shot against Nadal or Alcaraz, there's nothing from that crowd, is there? It's complete silence. You could play the best point in the history of tennis, but if the other guy ends up winning it, in this case Lehecka, you could hear a pin drop. Apart from Thomas Burdick and a couple of the other guys, Burdick must have loved that, by the way, sitting there thinking, finally.
Yeah.
Finally, I've got a chance. I've got one over on Nadal. It's taken me 20 years, but so difficult for him to come back up. And he's got that taping on his right arm as well, and his bicep, hasn't he, Lehecka? I don't know what's going on there. Obviously some sort of problem. But on the other side of the coin, Medvedev, he's not at his best in these conditions. He said it many times, and you can see by the numbers, his total service points won and return points won total in Madrid is 102, and his service hold and break total is only 98. Here in Madrid, he just isn't able to do the things that he normally does well on a hard court, quite as well on a clay court, particularly this clay court at altitude. The plus point for Medvedev is that I presume this we played on Santana, which is the biggest of the courts, which does allow him to get further back to his desired baseline, miles behind the baseline position, which some of the other courts don't allow him to do, particularly the ones on the way. He's never on the outside courts, but ones like Sanchez Vicario, where he played Corda, he has to stand further up to the baseline that he's comfortable in doing. But he'll be okay on Santana. But Lehecka's got a better record here in terms of stats, but he's only played 4 matches. His service points won and return points won total is 103, and his hold and break total is 100, but it's from only 4 matches. But just looking at the stats, looking at how Medvedev's performed in Madrid, generally, I would say this is quite a good matchup for Medvedev. Lehecka does he likes to blast his way past opponents if he can with the power. Generally, against that type of opponent, Medvedev will coax the errors out of them by making a ton of balls, which would lead to errors from the power player, in this case, Lehecka. But he doesn't retrieve as well on the clay as he does on the hard courts. So which that gives Lehecka more of a chance. It feels like an up and down one to me. It feels like I can't see either player really winning this in straight sets. 8 of Medvedev's 10 matches in Madrid have gone over 22.5 games, and 6 of those 10 have gone to 3 sets. Given this matchup, given the circumstances, I would be leaning here towards over 22.5 games at 1.94, -106 with BetRivers.
Yeah, -106 is the underdog. The favourite is the under 22.5 at -120. I'm quite surprised by that. Medvedev's never give up attitude was shown in spades against Corda, and Lehecka obviously very dangerous serve. Look a little bit quicker than most clay court conditions. So An interesting one there between Medvedev and Lehecka. The next match, both of these matches scheduled to start. The scheduling says 6 a.m. Eastern time, but obviously one will be a night match, one will be an afternoon match. So they will be a little bit later on, but make sure you head across to the BetRivers website early to get these bets on. Right, you don't want to leave it too late because we don't know the order of play just yet, and there will be a huge amount of markets available on the BetRivers website. And if you want to watch the match on BetRivers, you place the bet and you'll be able to watch it live. So you can watch live and bet live on BetRivers. The next match is Jannik Sinner, the man who's probably been the star player of 2024, the Australian Open champion, seems to be turning any surface now. He's a major force. He's up against Felix Auger-Aliassime, who's on the comeback trail, the Canadian. Sinner here is a very, very heavy favourite. He's minus 286. Felix is plus 225. The spread is 3.5, minus 113 for Sinner. Plus 130, so plus 3.5, minus 113 also for Felix. The total again is 22.5, and it's exactly the same line. Over is minus 106, and under is minus 121. Sinner struggled a little bit against Kotov in the second set, struggled a little bit against Kachanov, and Felix Auger-Aliassime was played really well this week. A great win against Ruud in the last round straight sets. There has been a little bit of support for the Canadian here, but I'm quite surprised by that, given the price he is. But when you look at the head-to-head, they've met twice before. They met here in Madrid in 2022, 2 years ago. Sinner never played last year, but in 2022, the last defeat Sinner had here was against Felix Auger-Aliassime, and it was 6-1, 6-2. Incredible win for Felix, given where the state the two of them are now. And Felix also beat him in Cincinnati in 3 sets, a little bit closer than that one. But what a win that was in Madrid in 2022. Can he turn that? Can he turn the season form? Can he come back to Felix here and prove a problem for Sinner?
Possibly. I think this is all about Sinner's fitness. He's got a hip problem, hasn't he? Which he's been talking about constantly. He's getting a bit of Djokovic-like now with these constant mentions of how he's not fit. If people aren't aware, he's been complaining about a hip problem that he's had for some time. He played Karen Khachanov, just about edged it. And I'll tell you what he said after that match. He said, "I feel better than yesterday. For sure, I'm not physically at 100% today. Tomorrow, I have a day off, which can help me to get through." And this is the interesting sentence. "Tomorrow, I will decide if I can play. I still don't know." That's very Djokovic, that is, isn't it? That's very kind of, don't expect too much off me. I've got this hip problem, which may be a big problem. I think that explains the price, because if this match was being priced up, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago, the Sinner would be about what, 1-8 or something.
Yeah,
not sort of 1-3. Sinner's only been priced up at this sort of price, 1.3-ish, minus 333, or bigger, 4 times this season, and they were for matches against Alcaraz, Dimitrov, Medvedev, and Tsitsipas. You wouldn't, on the basis of the last 18 months, 2 years, add Felix to that list, really. So they're factoring in an injury here. So it maybe this injury is a real thing, but it certainly has affected the odds of this match. As you said, Felix played his best match for a long time against Casper Ruud. Backhand looked a lot more solid than it has, because that's been an unforced error waiting to happen for a long time. Wasn't quite that way against Ruud. He stood up well in the backhand to backhand battles. He's serving great, aggressive on the forehand. He's got excellent stats this Madrid. He's held serve 95% of the time, but he did play an injured Mensik and a Manarino that didn't really want to turn up at all. He wasn't interested in the slightest. So those numbers can perhaps have a little sort of caveat to them. Sinner's service points won and return points won total still 114, still very impressive. But it's all about this injury. How is Sinner going to be? The head-to-head that you mentioned, Felix was the higher ranked player both times they met. So perhaps not that surprising that he won, although 6-1, 6-2, as you say, is very impressive. Just looking further into the stats of those 2 meetings, Felix has held serve 86% of the time against Sinner in those 2 meetings, but he's won 8% fewer second serve points. So it's all about the first serve for Felix. If he comes in firing with this first serve, hopefully in perhaps slightly quicker conditions, I'm not sure about that because this is Thursday, isn't it? Probably won't be that much, probably about the same, actually. But it's the first serve that he needs. If he's firing with that first serve, firing with the forehand, keeps that backhand as solid as it was against Ruud, then he's got at least a chance of pressing this supposedly unfit version of Sinner. I quite like the I like quite a bit, actually. Over 10.5 games in set 1 here. It was plus 210, 3.1 with BetRivers when I looked earlier on. Over 10.5 games in set one. That's where I'm going here.
Let's have a look what the price is now. I'm trying to find it. Set one, we are over 10.5 games is plus 210.
Yeah.
Nice price.
I think that's a bet. Yeah.
I think you've got to be very, it's going to be an in-running play, isn't it? We take that option now. We think they're both going to be right at it on the set number one, but
you probably have to be a bit careful.
Be a little bit, yeah. We got to look in play, and obviously BetRivers do offer so many different markets in running in play on the websites. Head across there. Will that be an official pick, Sean? Plus 210?
I think that's the option. Yeah, I think that's a good price. I'm not sure about this hip injury with Sinner. It feels like
the hips don't lie, Sean. The hips don't lie. The hips don't lie.
It's impressive.
Mike Neesy could have been this morning. Mike, you said about you said you're not too convinced by the injury.
Yeah, I don't like it when players start talking about their injuries so much. It feels like they're protesting too much, doesn't it? You hear this from Djokovic all the time. Oh, I've got this, I've got that. Don't expect too much from me. I don't know. We'll see whether it's as bad as he is making it out to be. I mean, the fact that he's saying I will decide if I can play, I still don't know. That it doesn't sound particularly great, but I think it'll probably be all right. Certainly for the first set. So a competitive first set, that's a bet for me here because I think that price is perhaps a little bit bigger than it should be.
Yep, head across to the BetRivers website. All those different markets available in those matches. There is one official pick for you there, and a lean as well. There is a promo that BetRivers are offering. It's the Net Gains Daily Parlay Boost. Score more value on your tennis parlay each day with the BetRivers Net Gains Profit Boost. Log in every day to claim your profit boost for a tennis parlay, then make your tennis parlay of at least 3 legs. Each leg must have odds of minus 150 or longer. Depending on your loyalty level, you'll get a boost of at least 25% and as much as 50%. See the BetRivers app for more details and grab your parlay boost. You're probably asking me, why am I saying that? Because there's only 2 men's matches tomorrow, but there is also a women's match as well between number 1 seed Iga Swiatek and Madison Keys. And you might want to put Iga Swiatek in some kind of parlay in some capacity, along with the 2 bets that Sean has selected there, and you'll get a parlay boost with BetRivers. So head across for that parlay boost net gains. Now, before we wrap up, obviously it's a very short show today. There's only 2 matches we're going to talk about. We're just going to move ahead. We've reached May already. Where's the year gone? It's crazy how we've already reached May. And this month, at the end of the month, we've got the second major of the year, the French Open Championship from Paris at Roland Garros. And we're just going to look at just how the market stands now on the French Open, and just if there's any sort of thoughts process after what we've seen on the clay season so far, what we've seen in Madrid, and we've got Rome coming up and some big tournaments coming up. But Carlos Alcaraz is now the favourite to win his first French Open title. He's plus 180. Novak Djokovic is plus 275. Obviously not playing this week. Jannik Sinner is plus 350. Rafael Nadal, way below par yesterday, but still the full favourite here, given his fantastic record in Paris. He's 1,100. Casper Ruud is 1,200. Tsitsipas is 1,500. We did highlight him a few weeks ago at 33 to 1. He's half the price now. Alexander Zverev is 16. Holger Rune is 20. Medvedev is 33. If you go down the list of some other players, Rublev is also 33 to 1. And then really, it's very hard to make a case for anybody other than those main contenders. Anything you sort of we've spoken about it before. Sometimes when someone has a big win or and it does well on the tournament, you want to look at the futures that are approaching. Is there anything there that's got you sort of interested a little bit? Or I think it's difficult now because the market is so dominated by those big 3 again. It's very hard to oppose them, really.
Yeah, I mean, there's fitness doubts about all those 3. I mean, I watched all of Alcaraz's match against our man Struff yesterday, which was another very unfortunate loss for Struff in a final set tiebreak. Alcaraz didn't look right to me in that match at all. I don't know whether you saw it, but I don't know whether it's that arm. He's obviously still got that sleeve on it. I don't know whether he's not able to do everything that he is normally able to do with that right arm. There seemed to be a hip problem as well. I don't know what was. Maybe he's caught that from Sinner.
Hips don't lie.
Him and Sinner, they've got the hip buddies joined at the hip, you might say, with these injuries. So Sinner has always been a fitness doubt for me in terms of the French Open, just because of the toil that that it puts on your body. I've always questioned whether he's able to win the French Open, and I still question it. Nadal, 4th favourite at plus 1,100. You should be adding a naught to that. I've said this before. I mean, there's no way he's winning this French Open. Not a chance. It's just not physically possible. I'd be stunned if he even made sort of the quarterfinals. For him, that would be an unbelievable result. He may not even play, of course. I mean, this is basically a farewell tour for him, isn't it? He's now said farewell to Madrid. I suspect he'll turn up at Roland Garros and do as well as he can.
Wouldn't it be more for him? I mean, would his objective probably be for Rafa to win the Olympics at Roland Garros? That
Possibly,
might be.
But
he might think himself. But he's won it so many times. He's done it. Go and play the last time. He knows he's got no real chance of winning it. But maybe try to get himself
favourite according to this.
Well, yeah, but that's just on name and reputation rather than anything else. But wouldn't it be that I think if you spoke to the Rafa camp and said to him, "What's your goal for the year?" I would say just try get fit and get the French Open's going to come too soon, but try to get some match practice and give it a good go at the Olympics.
Possibly, I mean. Garros. Yeah, well, I presume that would be Murray and Djokovic's his aim as well. Certainly, Djokovic is the obvious one. That's something he hasn't got on his CV. With Nadal, I think he's just doing the best he can. I mean, he's really at the burning embers of his career now. He's credit to him to be able to still compete at this level with everything that's gone wrong with his body over the years and the miles he's got on the clock. But Djokovic is what, plus 275? He's having to manage himself very carefully. Obviously, skip Madrid. I presume he's playing Rome. Be surprised if he wasn't playing Rome. But again, very difficult tournament to win because of the physical demands of it. I'd be quite surprised if Djokovic was able to win this French Open, unless there's other fitness issues with Alcaraz and Sinner. So the top of this market it's full of question marks. I mean, who have you got here? You've got Rublev and Medvedev at the same price, 33-1. Quite surprised at that. I would have thought Medvedev was quite some way more likely to make a final than Rublev, but there we go. Cerundolo is the interesting one. I saw him numerous times in Madrid last week, and he's played an unbelievable match against Alexander Zverev yesterday. He's always had that ability, Cerundolo, but he's so susceptible to just lapses in concentration and goes off the boil, and his form is up and down. He's all over the place, which he didn't do any of against Zverev, apart from the very first game of the match. His form was incredible from virtually then until the end. No dips, no spells where he's hitting the back fence, none of that. He carries on like that, then he's got a chance of getting somewhere at around about 100-1. So he would be the one that I would be putting a little nod towards at the moment.
Yep, he's 100-1. Head across to the BetRivers website. They're all there, all the way down to 1,000-1. There's some big names, big prices available on the BetRivers website. Remember, if you keep across all the action that we have here on Betting Weekly Studios, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Betting Weekly Studios. Thank you for everyone who has subscribed to that over the last month or so. May is going to be crazy. The tennis is really hotting up. We have French Open. We have the Rome Masters as well coming up next week. And we also have the end of all the soccer seasons across Europe and the Champions League final at Wembley. So a real monster month. And June is even going to get more as well. The European Championship, the 2024 European Championship final, Wimbledon in July. All the action is coming thick and fast. And we'll have you covered on Betting Weekly Studios on YouTube. So make sure you follow that. Give us a subscribe. Also, give us a follow. So on our socials on Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. Sorry, to download the podcast Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, if I should say so, on your preferred podcast provider, and follow us on our socials at Because We Win on Instagram and on Twitter. Instagram page is really growing there. We want to get 1,000 followers on the Instagram page, so make sure you follow across there. And you get all the in-play picks, the tournament picks, Sean's stories of his problems in Madrid and various different things as well. Lots of fun on there, so make sure you give us a follow on that as well. Sean, where's the next trip for you? Where are you heading to next?
Well, I was trying to choose ones that were going to be very warm.
So you chose London.
Obviously, I have chosen London actually.
Well, that could be the biggest mistake you made this year.
I've actually, whenever it's Queen's Club, obviously.
Yeah.
Whenever I've been to Queen's Club, I've been numerous times. It's always really, really hot. I've never had a bad day. I don't think it. I say that now.
Right, let's clip this video up. We'll clip this video up now. And we'll send it when you're shivering in the bar after a rain delay of about 6 hours. So we'll see.
We'll see. But I mean, yeah, the next one I think is Queen's Club, and then Mallorca. I mean, come on, it's not going to be.
Right. My parents are in Mallorca at the moment. It's raining.
Well, it's that cold front from Greenland that I talked about. I mean, I must be the only person in history to go to Madrid at the end of April and get a cold front in from Greenland. But it went all across Spain, so I'm not surprised that they're having a little bit of the back end of that. I think that's on the way out now. So when are they coming back?
He just sends me pictures. I don't know when he's
Well,
coming.
if he's there for the next sort of week, he should be fine.
I think he's got about another 5 days.
Oh, yeah, it's not a problem.
I haven't had a picture. I only get pictures when the weather's nice. You don't get pictures when the weather's bad.
I'm the other way. I send pictures of my general misery because I know people will kind of enjoy it. So
yeah, and I did, and I thoroughly did.
I bet you did, yeah.
And I did. Take care, everyone. I think we'll probably be back one more this week if we can get a chance, maybe the semi-finals or the finals. But obviously, the scheduling is very difficult now with the way that it is in Madrid, and also obviously next week we don't have a show on Sunday because the tournament starts on Wednesday because it's the 1000 event. So we'll preview that. Rory will be back on Monday looking at the women's side in Rome, and Sean and I will probably be back on Tuesday. So we'll try to get something in. If we don't get anything in as a podcast form, make sure you head across to Instagram and on Twitter, and we'll do some video previews on the matches on a day-to-day basis. But we'll let you know. We'll keep you updated if we can on the scheduling. Sean, enjoy the rest of your week. Warm up, put that heat in on, and thaw yourself out. Take care, everyone, and good luck with your wagers. All the very best.